Welcome to the OC Politics Show, keeping politics bipartisan, local, and on the level.
This is the OC Politics Show. I'm Joe Matthews.
And I'm Todd DeVoe.
The worst disease is corruption, and
Absolutely.
transparency is its only cure. It's the duty of the youth, and Todd, we are the youth. We are considered youthful. Is to challenge corruption. Our mail service is now in question with an upcoming election. Is the upcoming Angel Stadium land deal fair for all? Is the Board of Supervisors in bed with lobbyists over private jet planes? With the lack of transparency, corruption is bound to flourish. And now, the political whip around.
My whip's broken. There we go.
Oh, can I have another? Man, another.
Joe. Ooh. Ooh. Woo. We're getting crazy with it over here. So, you know something, Joe? I'm leaving on a jet plane for John Wayne Airport. Sparks residents' concern and corruption and allegations.
Hacking, mail-in ballot security, and other questions answered by OC's elections chief.
Irvine stalls investigation into Councilman Carroll mailers spending despite clear violations of city policy.
Seniors from a mobile home park are collecting signatures to hold a recall election for Anaheim Mayor Harry Sidhu.
There's a lot we could say about Harry Sidhu. That is for sure. Yeah. But you know what? That John Wayne Airport. You ever go to John Wayne Airport?
Oh yeah.
The John Wayne Airport. Although
I don't have a private jet though. I don't have a private jet, but I go on the big planes like everybody else.
I do go on the big planes like everybody else. Although there are a couple cool services over there that you can hire them. It's almost like you get your own private jet. They're not super expensive. A lot of businesses use them because it's easier to get in and on those planes, and they're basically jet services. So it's not commercial in the sense like you go to American Airlines and buy a ticket. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's more for corporate flying. And it sounds like the Orange County supervisors are set to approve plans that could spike private jet traffic at John Wayne Airport. Now, if you know anything about the John Wayne Airport, those of us here live in Orange County, obviously, we know that the residents of Newport Beach, Santa Ana, and Costa Mesa, in that little corner right there, specifically Newport Beach, they have a lot of say, a lot of pull, if you will, on the traffic and what it sounds like and all this other kind of weird stuff that happens at that airport. So now it looks like with these new jets coming in, there's some concerns from them regarding this new proposed jet traffic, private jet plane. Now, this is where it gets kind of crazy. Can we have partisan politics to everything now? Please. That's what we need. More partisan politics. So county supervisors, Michael Steele has been called for a campaign. Michelle Steele has been called out for campaign contributions she took for her congressional bid for the ACI jet. And then the OC Democratic officials have raised concerns about County Supervisor Andrew Doe's appointment of a lobbyist with connections to the airport industry to represent the 1st District on the OC Airports Commission. Now, this is interesting that the Democrats, of course, are bringing up charges against Republican people, representatives in Orange County when it comes to this. And County Supervisor Lisa Bartlett has been called out by her former campaign manager as a lead lobbyist for one of the firms advocating for Bartlett's choice of private jets. So here we have the appearance of deals being done in the smoke-filled rooms, right? And now to add to this, Andrew Doe is now under investigation by the California Attorney General for spending more time living in his second home in Tustin, not his primary home in Westminster, saying it's probably flipped, and there's chances that he's not even living in his home in Westminster. He just owns it on paper. So there's a lot of weirdness going on now at the county.
Tustin has the pool. Tustin has the pool.
Oh,
so
you know what,
go
man?
Back.
I would do that too during those hot days if I had a pool in another city. You know what I mean? I think I'm going to come to your house during the hot days now because I don't have a pool at my house and you do.
Great. I need someone to help me clean it.
So I guess my question is the Orange County, so are the Orange County supervisors, because it seems like they're all getting thrown under the bus here for various different things. Is there like widespread corruption at the Orange County Board of Supervisors?
Yeah, that's
crazy. What do you think? Yes or no, Joe?
You know what? Yes or no? There's always a possibility of a yes. There's never a doubt it's going to be a no. That's for sure.
You know, the federal, you're sticking to it? Well, the Federal Election Commission campaign finance records show that direct employees and executives with ACI Jet contributed around $20,000 to Supervisor Steele's campaign. Now, I don't know if that's a lot of money or not. I mean, when it comes to these things, is enough to, I mean, it's not like millions of dollars. You know, I just find this interesting that is it corruption? Is it corruption to donate money, even if it's your personal money, to a campaign that's going to be favorable for you? Because don't unions do that though? You know, don't unions put millions of dollars into campaigns that's going to be favorable to a person that's on the city council or to the county council or whatever for them?
Did Michelle get a ride in a private jet?
I don't know,
because that's when the union guy is not going to get a private jet ride, but that's a little corruption, right?
But the union guys though are okay. Let me put it this way: this is when it comes to unions, when it's a government employee unions that are putting money into the person who's going to necessarily be their boss, right? So say for instance, if you're in the city of X, right, and you want city council member B to be on that city council, and your union puts money into city council B's race, because that means that they're going to be beholden to the union. So any business that comes out in front of the city council for the union is going to be, they know they're going to have their vote, and they do it all the time. I mean, we just talked about the union's control of a recall election in Santa Ana, right?
Yeah.
So my question is when we talk about these things, and again, it's either all in, like you get to do everything or you don't need to do anything. So when they go, hey, you know, businesses can't put money into campaigns, but unions can. That's kind of unfair, right? I mean, that's fair for the, you know, and then people, well, no, but unions are a collection of people. Well, businesses are a collection of people. You know what I mean? So, you know, so when we start throwing that corruption word around, right? If you, here's the deal. If I walk over with a paper, you know, a paper bag full of money, and I hand it to a city council member or to a county board of supervisors, and I say, here is your money, and you're going to vote this way on this election or on this vote, right? That's direct corruption, right? We can all agree on this. But is it the same thing as if I say, hey, we want this person to be city council member, and I put that money into election? Is it the same thing?
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's not as clear as you think. You know, I think if I give you money, Todd, and you're a councilman, and then you turn around and make a decision in my favor, that's corruption.
Yeah, and isn't that what the unions do?
Yeah, to a certain degree. Some are good, some are bad.
you know. Anyway, I don't think we're going to solve all of the corruption problems with this union type stuff, and we should keep an eye on Mr. Doe as he's goes through his stuff and what's going on with the um, with the airport and whatnot. But I think we should talk a little bit about other sort of subtle aspects of corruption coming on here as well. So, what about voter corruption? What about the hacking with the ballot security and other questions answered by the OC's elections?
Well, election security is generating enormous interest, whether it's hacking attempts by foreign governments or questions about whether mail-in voting is secure. Now, the voice of Orange County, Voice of OC, recently did an interview with Neil Kelly. He's the county's register of voters. He's the county register of voters. And he made a few statements that we thought, if we shared today, would be beneficial. Now, cyber scams are an attempt on the election system on a daily basis, promoting a major beefing up of locals' computer security, including installation of intrusion district devices. Kelly said that he absolutely feels comfortable with the Orange County, with Orange County as it's come to prevent hacking from the election system, but that is a daily effort. There are scams being attempted on our system on a daily basis, so it won't just go away. It's going to be ongoing. Kelly said, as far as mail-in voting, Kelly said it's remains more secure than in-person voting due to signature verification and other protective measures. Kelly said that he's preparing for a vast majority of OC voters, upwards to 95%, to local ballots by mail in the upcoming election. Now, Todd, because of all this overflow of mail-in ballots and anticipation of delays of the postal delivery, the California legislator extended the deadline for ballots to be received by the county. How many days would you say that they give them before the actual election day?
365.
17 days and 365. That'd be great.
We'll never know who's going to be the president of the United States ever again, because you can vote every single day for the rest of your life.
There you go. So as long as it's postmarked November 3rd, then the ballot will be valid, but they have 17 days even afterwards.
So basically, we're never really going to know who won the election until probably by Christmas, maybe even after.
Well, I think 2 to 3 weeks, right?
I don't know, because I know that there are some issues with. So here's a question, right? Biden said that he'll only concede, I guess, the election when every vote has been counted. Well, that was his term, when every vote was counted. And Trump is saying basically the same thing, right? That he's not going to concede until every vote's counted. Well, what's that mean? You're right. Every corrupted vote, right, is counted, right? But you know what I'm saying? Like, they're both saying the same thing. Trump and Biden are saying the exact same thing. So they're still finding ballots, mail-in ballots that weren't counted in like Wisconsin, and for a local election up there. For I guess Pennsylvania found a few that had issues, right? And so they were discarded votes. So, but are those discarded votes, now because like the ballot was done wrong or whatever the issue was with it? Does that does that not count as a vote? There's like all this like wiggle room that's being put out there. I don't know. I've been voting absentee, if you will, or mail-in ballot for many years now. I love it. I love the concept behind it. I sit down at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee. I get all the stuff. I read through, especially with like the judges, who I don't, you don't really get to know a lot about them. And so I get to have an informed vote, right? I love that concept. But I think that we put the cart before the horse, if you will, with this, because we don't have a system that's set up to count these votes in a timely manner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and it used to be we could tell pretty quickly who's going to win, and so I mean, election nights. I mean, I'm not even going to watch TV on election night because we're never. I mean, it's just going to be a bunch of bloviating from spoke holes all over the place, and we're not going to know. You know, we're not going to know who won anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be like the New Year's Eve countdown without a ball.
Yes. Or fireworks or anything, you know?
Fireworks. No, fireworks later. Fireworks for inauguration. Fireworks for January.
They're gonna be like, hey, thanks for being with us. We'll come back. So I mean, let's play this out for a second though, right? And I you know, yeah, you can ask Brian. I have these conversations all the time with people, and I love to speculate just for fun, right? Not that anything I'm saying has any validity to it. I'm not saying I believe everything I'm saying right now, but let's just play this out. So if there's contestant, all right, so we know that, you know, since Bush versus Gore, the elections have been really contested, right? If it goes to the Supreme Court, you know, that type of stuff. Now we have a Supreme Court justice that's being nominated. It's going to be pushed through, and she'll probably be confirmed from everything I'm reading, right? So that means that Trump has those extra people on the Supreme Court. I should say he has, but he definitely has more votes than the other guy, right? If you go party line, let's assume it's party line, right? Which technically, if you watch a lot of stuff, it hasn't really gone party line, but that's besides the point because people like to say this. But okay, so we're gonna say it goes party line. So
well, just ask Corey.
Yeah, but that wasn't party line necessarily, you know. I mean, but you go down through, and so Trump gets put back in. Okay, now there's they being the partisans, right, have the ability to say, oh, this is an illegitimate presidency. It was put in there by the Supreme Court and blah blah blah. So there's that argument. So that could cause issues. Or second thing is we don't know because everybody's going to court back and forth. They're challenging votes, blah, blah, blah. Right. Then it gets to January 20th. What happens in January 20th?
Inauguration.
Well, if there's nobody to inaugurate, who becomes the president?
Nancy Pelosi.
Yes. Nancy Pelosi, or the Speaker of the House if they kick Nancy Pelosi out, right? Yeah. So I know some of the Democrats don't like her and they want to kick her out, and see if that happens, they can call for a vote. So let's say, for in this case, it's Nancy Pelosi. So Nancy Pelosi will become the acting president of the United States during this time, right? As the votes are being counted. So there's another constitutional crisis that's going on, you know? And of course, the partisans on the other side of the aisle will lose their freaking mind. So either way, no one at all. No, there's 57% or not 57, 47% of the nation on either side aren't going to be happy with the election.
Yeah.
No matter what. It's going to be an illegitimate election, whether it's either way. You know, and that's the stuff that kind of scares me with these with the mail-in ballots, because there's really and it's proven. New York State had issues, right, with their mail-in ballots. Wisconsin had issues with their mail-in ballots. Pennsylvania had issues with their mail-in ballots. It's not like I'm just talking out my ass, you know, and making this stuff up and being, you know, these are actual elections that just occurred this year where there were problems with the mail-in ballots. That's my point.
Yeah. Well, let me reassure the Orange County voter. Well, Neil Kelly's trying to, and let me read you this question and answer that I think he nailed it pretty good. There's been a lot of concerns around mail-in ballots and whether they're vulnerable to fraud. You've talked about signature matching and other processes in place to protect against fraud. But what would you say to concerns about fraud with mail-in ballots and ballot harvesting? Are they valid? And what procedures and safeguards are in place? Now, his answer was, I think this stuff has become politicized. The reality is, voter can maintain custody of that ballot if they're concerned about it. I don't want to discount the concerns, but what I'd like to say to them is, look, the ballot is going to be delivered to you. You vote at home. Hold on to it, and then you'll have your choice. You have the option to deliver it directly to us at a vote center or directly to a drop box. So if you have concerns about going through the postal system, the option is there, which is great because some places around the country don't have that option. So I think Orange County is in good shape. I believe it.
I don't have an issue with the idea of the mail-in ballot, right? And I don't think the mail-in ballot is going to be corrupted or hacked or anything like that. My concern is if we're going to do mail-in ballots, we should have had them already, and we should have had the due date sometime in October, and for the November 3rd election, not November 3rd, and then counting into December.
Well, we wouldn't be in this position because COVID. COVID pushed us into this corner. That was the main reason. If we didn't have COVID, it would be, hey, if you want to do your mail-in ballot, fine. If you want to come in, fine. So I think it's pushed things back a little bit. What do you think?
The election that we had for the 2018 election had absolutely nothing to do with COVID.
Right.
At all.
Right.
At all. And Orange County had a situation to where on election night, it looked like, for instance, in my area, it looked like Young Kim won the election. Right? And then a week later, or at least 5 days later, that got flipped for Gil Cisneros. Right? Because the mail-in ballots came in and were counted, and they did, and the Democrats had a great ground game, by the way. The tactic was freaking flawless. They went in and they did ballot harvesting, right? They had volunteers going door to door to all of the mostly elderly registered Democrats, and were like, "Hey, we'll take your vote, we'll take your ballot for you. Don't worry about it. We got your back." And there was some concern that they were filling out the ballots that has not been proven or disproven, for that matter, but concern that's happened. But the point is they went through, they ballot harvest a bunch of people, and the election swung a few days later. So we didn't know on election night who won. Right now, the that's fine, I suppose, if we weren't used to having those things done. Now, I remember when I was working in politics, we would sit up all night long, even for local counts, and they would count the votes, count the votes. It would be live on local TV of the votes being counted and the districts being called, and and you knew who won at the end of that night. And the point is that this, not necessarily fraud, but the idea of the ballots being done the way they are without the ability to count them in a timely manner. And when I say timely manner, it's not months. It should be hours or days. You know what I mean? And it used to be this, right? And this is kind of an interesting point. It used to be with the mail-in ballots, sometimes they weren't even cracked open unless it was a close race, right? Now, I'm assuming my ballots were probably, in that, because I've been voting absentee for a long time, or a mail-in, if you will, for a bit. And I did that due to my job, where I could not be home necessarily on election day. And so I'm assuming that my vote at some point wasn't counted, but, now you're saying, hey, we're opening every single one, and we're going to count all these things, and it's going to take time, and it's not necessarily something that you can just run through a machine, or maybe you can, and Has the ballot been compromised in any way? There's all these questions that are associated with it. And so, yeah, I just want to see how this plays out. I'm really interested to see how this plays out. Again, I'm not worried about the ballot itself being compromised. I'm just curious about how the counting is going to be done, and then is it going to be done in a timely manner? And when we start having challenges for each freaking, hanging chat or dimple chat, or is this, what's going on with it? How is that going to? Remember Florida? Think about Florida times 50. Florida in 2000 for the Bush v. Gore. Think of Florida times 50, and that's what you got.
It was like 147 votes.
This isn't thousands, I think, but but still, you know what I mean? It's, and this is not the first time in history. I mean, it happened, I mean, if you remember, Aaron Burr killing Alexander Hamilton, for those of you that like the like the
no
play.
Commercial.
I mean, no, that's true, right? It got down to single votes then, right? It got down to single votes with Andrew Jackson. There's been times when this has happened and got down to single votes with Bush v. Gore. It got down to, our election process is not without problems throughout the history of the United States. This is just one more that we're going to have to work through, but it just seems to be that my only concern about this election problem that we're having during this time is how divided we are as a nation. Is it going to, how's that going to look? How's it going to look? I mean, will if Orange County flips back to red, or at least if a couple of the seats go back to red, which is a high probability, are those going to be challenged by the locals? Will Gil Cisneros step down if Young Kim wins because all the votes aren't in yet, if you will, even if the majority of them are? So that's to play out. We'll see. As a political science poli-sci wonk that loves this stuff, this is I'm loving it. A lot of reading material out there.
All right, back to corruption. Back to our watch list, by the way.
Do it again. Yay!
All right, remember our old friend, Councilman Mike Carroll. His investigation appears to be stalling at a local level, despite clear evidence he violated the city's policy. And he spent $70,000 in Irvine city tax dollars on city mailers. Now, these charges of corruption came up with City Councilwoman Melissa Fox, who's a Democrat running for state assembly, who filed a complaint against Carroll, a Republican up for re-election, to the council this year after learning he tried to divert funds from his staff budget to pay for a series of mailers sent to voters advertising virtual town halls. Now, the Fair Political Practices Commission, California's leading campaign finance watchdog, confirmed it will not investigate the complaint and stated no reason why they chose not to pursue the issue. Orange County District Attorney Office spokesperson Kimberly Eds also said that it's policy to not confirm nor deny whether any investigation was ongoing.
I can't confirm nor deny this. If I tell you, I have to kill you. If I tell you, I have to kill you. Top secret stuff.
Yeah, where's your stamps? Anyway, the Irvine City Council has largely remained silent on whether they plan to investigate a month after this complaint was filed. Now, Carroll is calling the complaint a political hack job, of course, taking aim at Fox's use of her staff allocation to paying for aides. Mayor Christina Shea, who's a Republican, is the only member of the council who has spoken out against Carroll's actions, calling for an investigation. Now, Shea also said she planned on put the issue sometime in October. Now, in Irvine, the mayor is the only member of the council who can place an item on the agenda without the support of another city council member. Now, Carroll violated at least one city policy in his spending. This is what he did. He moved funding from his council aid budget. Now, these are like young little college students that are interning, that get probably a little stipend, and he gets so much money for that. And he took that money and he shifted it to the mailers, which is against city policy. And he didn't have the authority to do that. He also, Mayor Shea has also asked the city council to follow up on how Carroll even sent the mailers to staff, following reports that he went directly to the mailroom staff instead of the city managers, which is a clear violation of the city charter. So he is a new city councilman. This is his first year going. He was appointed. Carroll was appointed, and this is his first year, first election, and the guy already feels like he's the king of the castle, walking down the hall, spending the money the way he wants to.
You know what's interesting is the city council of most Orange County cities. I don't want to say all because I can't tell you for every single one. Pretty sure all. Anyway, there it's just really quick. We have things called weak. It's a weak city council, and what that means is that the city council is pretty much the policy group, and they make decisions based upon policy as being elected official, and then they hand that information over to the city manager and the city staff to run the city. Now, if you think about a strong city council, if you will, that would be more like the LA City, for instance, has a strong city council where the mayor is elected and he runs the city, not a city manager. So that being said, the city council, they're not figureheads. That's the wrong word I'm looking for, but they definitely don't have day-to-day operational authority in most cities. Now, I don't know if Irvine is a little bit different than this. It seems like they have offices and things like that, and looks like they have staff. But it from what I understand, they're still not a strong city council. Am I off base on this, Joe? Or are they?
I've not heard different, but I mean, the fact that they let this thing go past a month makes me think like it's a weak city council, and that the mayor has to finally jump in and put it on the agenda all the way in October, which is tomorrow, but Thursday. But this report came out, a month ago, and they're now going to put it on the agenda. So it's to do. We'll take our time.
Right. Well, anyway, see, keeps the city of Irvine on the watch list.
Almost.
City of Irvine. Speaking of watch lists, although maybe we should add this to the watch list, the city of Anaheim with Angel Stadium. Is Angel Stadium, Brian? You okay? They're on the watch list now. It sounds like somebody just scored a goal at the Ducks game right there with the air horn blowing off in the background. So the Anaheim mayor, Harry, he's up facing a recall election possibility from seniors from a mobile home park who started collecting. You know what this reminds me of? Have you ever seen the movie Cocoon?
Yeah.
I just imagine that happening and
little eggs all over the place.
Yeah, right. And they start to become young again. They sneak out, all this kind of stuff. Anyway, so seniors living at the Rancho La Paz mobile home park, they feel they're being not heard. Right now, I don't know if this recall is going to go anywhere because it seems to be it's just a small group, a very specialized group, but they're concerned about rent control. They're concerned about the Angel Stadium deal. And if you look behind me, there's a picture of Anaheim Stadium right there with the American flag. So I mean, the Angel Stadium is part of the landscape of Orange County, has been for a long time. And the deal that happened over there is they are selling an area larger than Disneyland to the owner of the Angels for about $150 million. Now, when we first started talking about this, it was like $350 million. So they got quite a discount on it in a time when real estate prices in Orange County are skyrocketing. So what's the deal here? Well, what they're looking at here is the redevelopment of that area, making a new stadium, because Angel Stadium is one of the older stadiums in baseball. It does need some renovations. If you've ever gone there, the bathrooms are terrible, just to kind of put it in perspective. So they want to tear it down, and they want to build a brand new state-of-the-art stadium. And to do so, to keep the Angels in Orange County, would keep them here till 2055. It's going to be a beautiful stadium. And if you look at some of these stadium projects that are being built now, this is the cool part about this deal at $150 million, right? Now, the building of the stadium is not going to take any taxpayer funds. So, a lot of these stadiums are being subsidized in a big way by the taxpayers. But what's going to subsidize this, I suppose, is that discount. But they want to build hotels and some other entertainment stuff. So if you think about like LA Live, if you will, or downtown Disney kind of esque associated with the ballpark, with high-rise hotels and things, bed tax, things like this, and make it a destination place in Orange County, not just this large parking lot off the 57, which is, empty most of the year. I think in general, it's a good for Anaheim. Now, there will be some people that are going to be kind of on the short end of that stick. And in this case, it seems like it's this mobile home park where they're afraid that their rent's going to go sky high and they won't be able to afford to live there. So where do we lay on this debate, Joseph?
Well, they bring up a lot of good issues. The Sidhu's being sued already over a lawsuit because of a lack of transparency for the Anaheim deal. So it might not come from Rancho La Paz people, but it's another group called the Homeless Task Force, and they have sued the city as well for a lack of transparency during the deal. And they might have to testify to see how they got to these numbers. So I think it's not over.
So, all right. I'm just kind of melding this through my mind right now. So you have the Homeless Task Force, who looks like they want to stop the deal. And you have the people in a trailer park that want to stop the deal. That's what I'm hearing so far.
Well, and so far the two minority city council people are pretty much out of hearing any kind of testimony. And if you're not a part of the Gang of Five, they call it, you're pretty much out. So there's been a lack of transparency, even from their own city council members getting information about this deal. And that's what the lawsuit hopes to do.
Okay. Well, so I guess we're putting the city of Anaheim and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim baseball club on the watch list? Or have they been on the watch list?
It's first time so far.
First time. Joe is the keeper of the watch list, everybody. So if you want somebody on the watch list, reach out to Joe right here at the OC Politics Show on Facebook. You just reach out to him and say, Joe, can you please put Brian Colburn on the watch list?
Yeah.
He's not going to. No, he's
Brian's
like,
not gonna
nope.
do it. He's not doing it to himself.
Brian says he wants me on the watch list. Wow. Why am I on the watch list, Brian? Jeepers creepers. We'll put us, everybody, you're on the watch list. You're on the watch list. We're all on the watch list. All right. That being said, for being on the watch list, thank you all for being here today with us. And I want to thank my co-host, Joe Matthews. I want to thank producer Brian. And I want to thank Sitch Radio. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast player, Facebook, YouTube. And remember, get involved. Reach out to your elected officials. Keep their feet to the fire. Keep them on your watch list. Vote local. And until next week, stay safe and stay aware.